everyone. We're part of the education and training team at SideFX. And if you're here from a school or from a studio or you're independent, this hopefully will have something that's helpful to you. And just to start off, we'll introduce our team. We've grown a lot in the past few years. We started with a team of 1 and now we're a team of 6, and we have some interns usually. And I'm Sam, I'm the Senior Education Coordinator on the team.
And I'm Peter Arcara. I'm the training lead, or one of the training leads on the team.
And I'll just take you through. So the first thing we wanted to talk about today is student support. And something we recently announced back in May, I believe, is licensing for students, which we never had freely available to download from the website before. There is a cost. But we always had students go through their instructors or administrators in the past. But we're very excited that now they can go on the website and download Houdini education licenses themselves, which give them almost all of the capabilities of full commercial Houdini licenses to use at home for their projects or personal work. And what's on the screen now is the third-party app proxy ID that we're using to help us allow students to download. So this is just an example of the process of verifying your status as a student. There are a few ways to do that. One way is there's usually a list of schools that you can choose from and then log in. You can also use your school-issued email address, or as you're seeing now, there's a manual way of getting verified through the Proxy ID website. Your school doesn't have to be teaching Houdini or have Houdini installed in order to get verified, which is an important point. So there are those 3 ways to do it. There's an FAQ about it if you have questions on how it works, but that was just a quick demo of that process. And another thing that is a support for students as well as alumni is what happens when your school is Houdini certified. And we just released the results of that last week, but we invite schools every year to apply and reapply to be Houdini certified, just to make sure that their programs are quality and their instructors are giving quality instruction. And we have an application that they fill out and they submit examples of student work in a reel. And we have industry judges that score the reel, and our team reviews curriculum to make sure that it's up to the Houdini certification standard. And one of the benefits of that for students and those graduating is something we call alumni licenses. And what this is when you're in the year of graduation and your school has been successfully certified, you are eligible for either a free 6-month FX workstation license or a free 1-year core workstation license. And what's really cool about that, and we want to stress, please take advantage of this either to sharpen your skills, to use towards your freelance work, or to take into a studio. SideFX is in full support of this. Take it to a studio, tell recruiters that you can use this there. And it's a great way to almost say, here, for a discount, hire me. It'll save you the cost of a Houdini commercial license, and they can use that towards their commercial projects. And then another form of support is talent growth. And there's a couple of ways that we're trying to grow talent. So one is, again, through students and graduates of Houdini certified schools. There are a lot of certified programs. We're up to over 70 as of this year in 16 countries. And just to give you a sense of how many of those free commercial licenses are out there, about 600 are claimed each year, so that's a ton of Houdini talent and free licensing that is out there and available to take advantage of. Another way of talent growth is upskilling existing talent at studios. So if you want to jumpstart Houdini training initiatives, we have a ton of learning content and a platform, which I'll go through in a second. We have trainer consulting services and a list of third-party trainers that we can match you to based on what you're interested in and what your teams want to learn. And just a hint that we are working on Houdini instructor certification, so stay tuned for more news about that. So another thing that we really value is connecting industry with schools. And one thing we're trying to do more and more is promote studio recruitment to Houdini certified schools. So if our sales team comes to our team and says, hey, this studio is looking for 50 Houdini artists, where are they? We want to contact instructors at the certified schools and say, if your students want jobs, which they usually do, and they're okay with us sharing their contact details and their reels, we want to share that directly with studios and recruiters and make sure that you're front and center when they're considering candidates, and vice versa. So sometimes schools come to us and say, here's a list of our alumni. We try to say, who has the Houdini skills? And then we'll go back to the recruiters and the studios and share that information. And so just that image in the upper left is our Houdini HIVE last year, where we were really trying to get studios and schools in conversation, and that's exactly what we did. So this was just an example of Rockstar Games in conversation with an instructor at Texas A&M. And then our manager, John Moncrief from SideFX, just having a nice little interview and discussion. And then we're hoping that now that the pandemic is kind of calming down, that we're going to try to visit more schools and encourage studios to visit with us and just have everybody there together. So stay tuned for more news about that this fall. And then, as I mentioned a couple slides ago, the learning platform called Houdini Insight. And this is where, in addition to all the great marketing educational materials on the SideFX website, this platform is not as widely available, but it's open to instructors at schools and studios as well. It's designed for instructors and trainers to support education and training initiatives. And as you can see, we have things organized into learning paths. We have about 11 learning paths right now, and courses organized into the paths. And then within the courses, we have classroom and lab resources, annotated example files, and then in addition to the learning paths, something called Houdini Office Hours webinars, which is exclusively for instructors at schools as a safe space. They can ask questions without worrying that a student is going to judge them for having questions, and they can have really great conversations with each other and help answer each other's questions with SideFX input. And it's a really nice informal space to have the discussions we want to keep having. So if you're from a studio, access is available, but please contact your account manager and they'll help set you up. And just as a few more details about Houdini Insight, as of right now, there's 160 hours of learning content, which includes 700 course unit videos, 100 node reference videos, which we're growing all the time. And all of that has been created by 10 educators from 3 teams at SideFX. So not just our team, it's also the marketing team and the technical consulting team, and we're all working together to create that.
Great. So I'll take it from here and kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that are actually in the courses. Like I said, I'm a training lead, and one of my responsibilities is to actually help make the content or supervise content, obviously, as it's maybe being made by someone that's an expert in that specific field from our team, or even from outside if needed. So in this case here, we have lab and classroom resources, and the idea with these is to be a teaching aid in your classroom, something that you could give to students to keep, for them to be able to, reference when, maybe they come across an issue on their own and they're working in a project. Here's just a couple of examples of that, something like, working in PDG, trying to make some sort of workflow in there, something that they can look at and you can look at as you're developing your course or as they're maybe working on something that they're trying to set up. And same thing with something like KineFX. We have, extensive, different resources for those in a PDF form, like I said, and in a way that you could use on screen or as a resource to give to your students. So it's really a really helpful thing to be able to have that in your back pocket, to be able to create your courses and things like that from scratch, as you're building them. So one of the things that we offer is that. And another thing that we offer with all of our courses is annotated example files. So we'll actually take the time to go through our course files and make sure that that when you open it, even if this is something that's totally new for you, say it's something like KineFX, something that's new and has been kind of growing in the recent years, you open it up and you might be like, wow, this is a totally different workflow from something that I'm used to. And we'll have all these, little sticky notes in there so you can read what's going on in these networks. Why are these nodes here? Why have we connected them the way that we have? And try to give you a sense for what we're actually accomplishing in these. And you can use these as well while you're teaching, right? So you could have this open on another screen while you're teaching, just as like a little help, just to make sure that you know what's going on as you're teaching these things, in your classrooms or virtually or however that might be going. So, and you could also, if you wanted to, give those to students so that they can dissect them and see what's going on as well. So it's an asset for you as you're building your courses, as you're teaching, something that we just try to make sure that your process of teaching Houdini is as simple as possible. So. And then I just want to kind of touch on a few different courses that we've come out with this year. One of the big words in the industry, obviously, is USD. Everybody's talking about it. We've created a couple courses right now that basically start you from scratch in USD and talk about the concepts, talk about what some of these terminology words are that might feel a little foreign or be something that trips you up. We mainly obviously are talking about using USD and Solaris, but some of these tools and these concepts are universal across the industry. So you can then know that this is how USD works kind of at its core, and then see how that is implemented in Solaris, in Houdini, and be able to kind of feel comfortable working in that as you might be teaching something like that to your students. We just have a couple things here just talking about the different topics that we touch on in this first basics course, just kind of importing geometry from Houdini, and just basically beginning the discussion of what USD is. And then from there, we also have just released a authoring course on USD. And as you can see here in the image, we're getting into the actual files and looking at what's going on with in the USD software itself, talking about importing files from disk, what that looks like, how to reference those, what the different terms are when you're maybe bringing these files in and why you would use them in one case or another. And then just basically learning how you compose scenes in USD, because that's the huge benefit of using USD, is the flexibility of being able to overwrite stuff without causing without any destruction. So, and then, like I said, analysis of the files as well. So this is kind of like a beginners to intermediate course. It does get into quite a bit more technical things, and kind of brings you all the way through to understanding even how to work with some animation in USD and things like that, just to kind of give you some of that idea of what is going on inside of USD. And this is certainly a new learning path that we just started, is USD and Solaris, and there's going to be more courses coming, in the coming, months and years about USD. Obviously, it's a huge topic, and there's a lot to kind of unpack there. So. Another thing is one of our other training leads, Michael Goldfarb, is great with character work, and he has an entire course here on the capture and deform workflow that just came out. I think actually, was it today or? Today. We just released this one today. So this is a really great course to be able to understand how the capture and deform workflow is in KineFX and what that looks like, and how to kind of continue learning. I think we have quite a few courses now on KineFX itself. I think it's something like 6 or 7 courses in that learning path. Quite a few to get you kind of up to speed and going with what KineFX is and how to kind of bring that into your courses. And then on top of that, we have a course on direct modeling that we released this year as well. We brought in someone, Igor Severik. He goes by Polymarvels online, and he came and did an entire modeling course for us, basically talking about the way that you can look at procedural modeling, looking at kind of the network as a redo history kind of concept, where you can basically take what you've done and be able to use it again, or go back and edit your network, and how that can work in a modeling workflow, and how you can kind of start to conceptually understand modeling in Houdini, which not everybody thinks of Houdini as explosions and fluids and all that kind of stuff. And modeling is something that can be done quite easily and quite robustly in Houdini as well. So it's kind of a good way to be able to bring that into your courses. And here's just a slide. This is right on the front of the Insight website. This shows the courses that we've released this year so far, and there's certainly more coming. Even in the last few months of the year, we've got plenty of other courses that we're working on. One thing I want to point out too is that we actually even have something that's a pretty in-depth course on here as well. That's the HDK for SOPs. We brought in Derek Moser to do that, and he goes through the entire Houdini development kit to kind of give you a sense for how you can do these different really in-depth coding workflows basically in Houdini. And so we're not, there's only a few of us on this team, and we know that we don't have all the skills that are needed to maybe teach every single part of Houdini. And so we're certainly happy to bring other people in when needed to be able to touch on those courses and touch on those topics. So that's what we do. So hopefully that gives you a good idea for what is out there on the Houdini Insight platform.
And I'll just say too, we've never really promoted this widely, Houdini Insight, because it is kind of by request only through a school or through a studio. It is on the SideFX website. You can RSVP to a forum that you're interested, and we will get back to you and let you know if you're eligible, or maybe connect you to your team that can help you get on. But just so you know, you can look more on the SideFX website if you want a little preview video or look at more examples of what the platform is like. This is a support for instructors specifically, mostly instructors at schools, also some trainers that release content online. It's just a Slack workspace where we can collaborate and answer questions, sort of like Houdini office hours that I mentioned before. But it's a great place to have conversations, and instructors get to meet, and if they've worked together before, it's really nice to have a space to reunite and talk all things Houdini. We also share resources and we post jobs. Lots of schools are looking for more Houdini instructors, so it's a great way to try to find those people. And we also announce SideFX news there because we want to keep instructors in the loop and on the cutting edge, which sometimes they get left behind, but really they need to be at the forefront of everything. And we really value our relationships with instructors. So if there are any questions, we'll take them now. Also, just quickly, SideFX always has internships open and available to apply. Our team as well. We have an intern right now who's been helping out at SIGGRAPH, but we're always looking for more interns. So it can't hurt to apply. On the SideFX website, if you go to sidefx.com/careers, all these internships are listed there along with other positions. But please apply, ask your friends to apply. It's a great place. We help you with with personal projects. You get a great chance to try a ton of different things and speak to the developers and the technical consultants and get mentorship. And we help you find a job after. So it's a great opportunity, and we'd encourage you to apply. Yeah, any questions?
Looks like we have one over here. Do we have a microphone? I think we might. Gentleman over here, yeah.
Cool. Never heard about this thing before, but so for studios, like how many licenses do they need before they can like get this for, I don't know, like employees that want to switch from Maya?
Yeah, there's not actually a minimum. It's more of your account manager will help you get access. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis based on the needs of the studio, and if there's a real, they want to put effort into having Houdini be a real part of your whole pipeline, that it's it is that relationship with the
So just get whoever gets the licenses, they'll kind of message you guys or whatever to see
You can contact us too, but we will get your account executive just in the loop so they're aware, and we'll get you set up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Also, have you guys thought about I don't know, some of those work files that you guys have there? Have you thought about I don't know, putting them into the documentation or linking them from documentation? Because sometimes the documentation is pretty hard to go through, but a work file that has sort of like an example of how to use that thing is like way more useful than the documentation, because sometimes the documentation is like super low level and way over my head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we can particularly speak to that, but I know that obviously the more, obviously the larger the files that you put into your documentation that's shipped with the software, obviously that makes the downloads grow and things like that. And obviously that's something that we probably wouldn't want to do as far as, just dumping like a bunch of files in there.
Like a download link or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
It's certainly something we can bring up to people and, see what can happen. But it's good to know that people are interested in that at least.
Yeah, I'm like trying to switch a bunch of people on my team to Houdini.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. I was kind of curious. I don't recall if you mentioned it. I was like on the website. There was something called Houdini.school. I was wondering if that's also your guys' thing or just somebody with the name.
Houdini, sorry?
Houdini.school.
Houdini School. So the next presentation, actually, the founder of Houdini School will be here hosting the Houdini Battle, Deborah Isaac, and she's also an instructor at UCLA right now. So you could probably talk to her directly. It's not really directly affiliated with us, but it is now a Houdini certified school. So she has that recognition from, judges in our team that, it's quality instruction and they'll get the benefits of being a Houdini certified school, but she'll be able to answer, I think, more questions.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there. I just had a quick question about kind of like the implementation of USD in Houdini. I kind of have a general idea of what USD is, but could you kind of go a little bit more in depth about that, if that's okay?
Probably, we could maybe afterwards we could chat about it a little bit. It's really not kind of outside of the scope of the presentation a little bit, but
okay, no
yeah, certainly we could chat about it a little bit afterwards for sure.
All right, for sure. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, of course.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Great.
Thank
Up
you.
next is going to be the Houdini Art Battle.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.